What is good, everybody? What is good? What's good? What's good? What's good? We are back. So, first and foremost, we did not live stream yesterday because we had to travel on the road as we talked about. So I said, well, let's do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's a federal holiday, so everybody should be at home. So let's do it today. Unless you work a job where they don't give you today off because, they don't really count as a federal or state job, depending on the state. So let's do our disclaimer right quick because we back in the studio. We got some sound. So if we come across a video, we can play it out loud. That makes the screen so much better, right? And hopefully you can hear me. And then let's do this. Wi-Fi so much better. So much better. Where is it? Videos. Disclaimer, the videos presented here are for informational purposes only, and therefore, if you are to choose to attend the institution, please do your own research and consult with a specialist at the institution that you are interested in. I am not a financial aid specialist, academic advisor, or representing any institution. Speaking on behalf of creator Henry is only speaking from his experience. Let's go. Now that we got that out the way, as one of my teammates used to say, let's rock out. Let's rock out. So I gotta join the control room, of course, guys, so I can see if you say something in the chat. I can see that. So let me join that as we keep setting up. I hope y'all day is going well. I hope your week has been well, because I understand how week could be, especially if it's not going in your favor. Day by day, as I used to tell myself at my old job, day by day, day by day. All right, I am in the room. So if you said something in the chat, I should be able to see it now. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was Tennessee State. You know, Tennessee State. So Tennessee State, of course I got to comment on it. What type of person would I be if I didn't comment on this? So this got posted on LinkedIn and it's got an article on it. So it got somebody really, this article was very popular, I would say. So I'm gonna start with the post on LinkedIn first because it's always shorter. They didn't put a video on it, but it says Tennessee State University, TSU. TSU has reached an agreement with the state of Tennessee that reallocates $96 million of capital for improvements in university operations. The funds will be used over the next 3 years to create more robust, known as strong learning environment. I'm gonna write that down. Strong. Do y'all say strong like that? Strong. I say strong like that. Strong learning environment. What else they said? Fostering innovation. That's interesting. See what they're gonna do with that. Fostering innovation and growth for our students, their students. And what else they said? Our students, they said faculty and community. All right. So, and it says I can read more here. Let me see if it takes me to the same link, actually. Oh, it took me to a link tree for this post on Tennessee State University. It's crazy. They use link trees. All right. Strong learn. They're going to use 96 million in funding. Let's be clear. 96 million in funding for TSU. 96 million. So if you're gonna take 96 million to do, I guess let's start with strong learning environment. I'm trying to picture that. I really can't speak too much on that because that can be used in a lot of ways. But if you're going to use 96 million, allocate not all of the 96 million, of course, but you're going to allocate. We don't know how much they're going to allocate, but they're going to allocate a certain percentage of that million. That could be like 10%, 5%, depending how they want to split it up for a strong learning environment. I don't know how strong, I do know how strong you can make the learning environment. You can do more teacher to student ratio, instructor to student ratio, like smaller classrooms to produce higher results. You could do that. But one of the ones I didn't like about it was they're saying they're going to fostering innovation and growth for our students. Now, I immediately was like, foster innovation. You know, you gonna foster some innovation because a lot of schools are not very innovative. They claim they're being innovative, but they're really being traditional. But they claim to be innovative. So what I did, I pulled up Tennessee State University. I have to know a little bit about the school before I keep speaking on them, right? And you know me, I'm all for looking at the schools, this school tuition and fees. So we kind of, we do this at the end, but let's see what their tuition and fees look like. Because the 96 million is gonna go down the drain, I feel like, if the tuition and fees don't add up. And then I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna see, I seen some of y'all popping in here. We had some people popping in on the live screen. I'm gonna refresh. It don't seem like it updated. I had about 3 people in here. Somebody ain't telling the truth. Either you misguiding me, YouTube, coming for you, or I'm misguiding myself. Let's see. Okay, we have 1, supposedly, I guess. So the tuition and fees for Tennessee State University, I'm going to look at they only have their fall 2024 and spring 2025. Where is, I guess they haven't updated and put the, oh, before we keep going, it says right here, the university's tuition and fee schedules are determined by the Tennessee Board of Regents, TBR. So remember, as I talk about on the live streams, every state has their own Board of Regents, especially if the school is public. And I believe Tennessee State University is a public institution. I know it's a historical black school, but I believe they are public because they said the Tennessee Board of Regents. Tennessee State University, yes, they are a public institution. So it says the university tuition and fee schedule are determined by the Tennessee Board of Regents. Everybody has that in a different state, and the university's governing board. The publication of each year's fee structure occurs at the start of the state's fiscal year, the July preceding the fall term. Prior to this publication, you may estimate an additional 2 to 5% for the upcoming fall to spring term. So that means your tuition and fees should increase by 2 to 5%. And as we talked about in the live stream, 2 to 5% is a lot. It might seem like it's not a lot. It's a lot to go into your tuition or your fees. And as we said before, a lot of schools are increasing, which leads into the conversation about students pay for athletics. They are increasing their tuition and the fees. Now, why are they increasing it? I don't think they're telling the truth, because every time I'm reading articles from Chronicle Higher Education or articles from LinkedIn of professionals posting, these professionals representing institutions are not commenting on why they're raising the tuition. And I caught one of them that caught my eye was that they're raising the tuition. One said they're raising tuition is the reason to raise the tuition / fees is because athletics, essentially. That's one of the reasons. Of course, we know because because we do know for the reason that the Trump administration is tightening their budget. But Tennessee State University, their tuition and fees, which is giving me a challenge to find because schools always hide their tuition and fees. They never can take me directly to it. I have to navigate through all their links sometimes just to get to where I need to get to. And that's a strategic marketing, I would say, on their part. Because if you find the prices fast, you don't really want to go to the school. That's like marketing 101 I learned working in higher education. Like they hide certain things so you don't see it right away. So the undergraduate, as you know, I focus on undergraduate because I understand graduate school can cost more. The in-state tuition, oh, it's buffering. So for the upcoming fall 2025 and 2026 schedule, you are looking at after fees. Okay, Adobe. After fees are applied, because you might have a 12 credit hour schedule, you're looking at $4,500. $4,500 for one semester if you go to Tennessee State University. Now, 4,500, as we like to say, 4,500 times 2 pretty much. I'm going to clear this out. Times 2 is, you're looking at $9,000 for your first year there at Tennessee State University. Why is that important? Because TSU, I'm going to just say 4,500 times 2, 9,000. Smackaroos. So why is that important? Because they said they're going to get 96, like the state of Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the state of Tennessee has said they can get $96 million. And that $96 million came from going to my source. That $96 million came from the state, but that was right here. It says the historically black institution reached an agreement with the state that will allow it to take $96 million in public money that had been allocated for deferred maintenance and use it instead on immediate financial needs like bolstering. So I'm assuming when they said public money, that's why we got to read it a little bit. We are actually going to the article. When they said maintenance, I don't know if it meant maintenance for the campus or maintenance for the state of Tennessee. I don't know. But they're taking the 96 million instead. They're going to use it for financial needs like bolstering cash flow, improving the student experience, and recruiting. That's why I say it's wasted money right there. That's what I didn't like about it. See, they didn't post that on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, they posted something different. But how are you going to recruit? Once again, how are you going to recruit students? And you're charging a loan for, not for, 9,000 for 2 semesters. That's one full year. You're charging $9,000. If you get, now it's a historical black school. Now, we all know with historical black schools, their mission is to make education accessible to all people of color, more of African Americans. And so most African Americans, because they love doing studies on that. People love doing studies on African Americans need financial aid. So I'm going to play into your field real quick. The typical African American that might, if I had to do an estimate, if they get the Max Pell Grant, he better not call me. Stop. So if the student gets the Max Pell Grant, which is like $7,000. Now we're talking about Tennessee State University. If the student gets the Max Pell Grant, $7,000, your Pell Grant is going to be going in one year pretty much, because once again, it's $9,000 for the year, but this doesn't include meal plans and room and board / dorms. That's 3 things. It doesn't include those. And you always have to factor that in. It's so important because they're saying, oh, we're going to recruit more students. But how are you going to recruit students if they know how much they're looking at paying? Now, if you still want to go there, of course, just off general, because it's a HBCU, by all means do that. But I've seen that fail so many people sometimes because they say, oh, the school's HBCU, it's supposed to be for me so I can thrive. Yeah, but I'm from Georgia myself, and we have a few HBCUs in Georgia. And I also know a lot of people who went to HBCUs, for example, but it didn't work in their favor. And I know some people who went to HBCUs and it worked in their favor, but they still came out with student loans, just as if somebody went to a PWI. And so I never got caught up in like HBCUs and PWIs and like PBIs. And it was like, who is giving me the better price and the education? Because at the end of the day, people are going to go to school and put this concept together of what they believe their education was about. That's just the truth of it. And so I think that 96 million, when they're trying to bluster cash flow, that's just not good because it's like borrowing. Like, even though it's an institution, a college, that's like borrowing money. They're just borrowing money to bluster their cash flow. They're not producing cash flow, obviously, because they need it to bluster. It's like a business, right? If I look at a company, once again, whoever is in this chat with me, shout out to you. But it's like if I look at a business, right, in the stock market, I always say this because you have to look at cash flow in a company when you're investing in this company in the public, when you are investing in a public company on the stock market. If I hear a company says, oh, the company is getting money from such and such. Okay, perfect. If this company is getting money from, its luck is frozen. There you go. Okay, I'm back. I accidentally hit something that came on my screen, guys. So, once again, it's like something don't want me to tell y'all this. If a company takes money from whoever, like a bank, and says, oh, X, Y, and Z company has borrowed 96 million to bluster cash flow. That's not good because guess what? They have to pay that money back. Now, in this case, I don't know if they have to pay that money back because it came from the state, but that's going to be some money they owe for sure because I just don't know if there's no such thing as free money. So if y'all not producing cash flow, guess what they're going to have to do? Like we just said in the beginning, Tennessee State, the Board of Regents of the Tennessee, which is the Tennessee system of Georgia, not Tennessee system of Georgia, the Tennessee system is like their university system. They said they're going to raise tuition. Tuition is expected to raise, tuition and fees are expected to raise from 2 to 5%. And so when they do that, when they raising it for 2 to 5%, that's trying to bluster cash flow because once I said students have a lot of power in college. People think it's the athletes. They think it's, athletes, because it's really just students and athletes really consist of the college. But it's really the students that bring in that money. And so, because really you think about it, like a school like Tennessee State, I believe they're Division I, but at the same time, they're not producing numbers that's going to really surpass students. Like I said, if you got multiple students at the school, for example, a loan off tuition and fees, $9,000. If you got 1,000 students, I'm pretty sure a lot of schools got more than 1,000 students in like a freshman group. If you got 1,000 students with 9,000 alone, that's 90 times 1,000. We use the calculator. That's 9,000 times 1,000 is 9.0, 9 million. So that's $9 million alone off of tuition and fees for a college. That's a lot of money, right? And so imagine like freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. And plus if they stay on campus and all that, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And so I don't think that money's gonna help them. Tennessee State, no offense, because students don't trust, well, according to articles, but according to my peers, they don't trust higher education. They think college is a scam. That's not me. That's the general person who might come in this live screen and say, you talking about college? college doesn't. College is a scam. Like you're not even getting the value of you're not getting the value of your education. You're not even getting the job. That's what they say, whatever. But like those are the people's words. I'm just talking about how you can navigate it. Cause like already off this school, I wouldn't go here. I would spend too much. Maybe I'll go here if I transferred, as I say, but I don't know. It's just too much. But I'm not in Tennessee, so I'm in Georgia. So I can't speak on the cost of living in Tennessee. But I know artists. Like I'm culturally here, guys. I know about Key Glock, Young Dolph, and the Memphis rappers for like the Memphis entertainment of rappers and stuff. So obviously the cost of living got to be pretty bad, and like that's Memphis, but of course Tennessee in general, because you got Nashville and it's like completely different. But just for a heads up, Tennessee State. So do I feel like that 96 million is gonna be helpful? And they say they want to get more faculty, which is more instructors or jobs of that related nature. Yeah, but once again, if they're not bringing in more students, those instructors could be losing their jobs in coming years. They have a job, but they could be losing it very, very soon because, once again, we are seeing a lot of cuts right now. There's been stricter guidelines on athletics. Sometimes we were just reading like, not to go back to the athletics, but athletics sometimes supports the school because they generate so much money from sports. You think about big schools like Alabama, their football program. You think about UGA, their football program. You think about basketball, Kentucky, their basketball programs. These schools sometimes help the college as a whole. So that's how I felt about that one. As we go to the history of the Department of Education, I said the history of Department of Education. I probably should put but I wasn't gonna have enough words in the title. That's why. So the history of the Department of Education is interesting. So I went down a rabbit hole, and you know what I learned? I learned that a lot of people don't know what the Department of Education does, which is very common. I went to a Ivy League. I went to Harvard Graduate School of Education. And so this was posted February 6, 2025. It's by Jill Anderson, but she interviewed and sat down with Professor Martin West, and he discussed the Department of Education responsibilities. It's not common. It's very complicated trying to figure out what the Department of Education do. So I started by going to the Department of Education website. Now I wanted to make sure they didn't change nothing on here because new administrations could change things if they wanted to. So first I had to make sure, but it seems like this all been on here since the beginning of time. Now I'm not gonna read this whole thing because there's a lot about it. I'm gonna read like it says when Congress created the Department of Education in 1979, it declared these purposes, what it was intended to do. I was looking for higher education at first, but then I started realizing as I was reading it, it's about education in general. And that's more what I learned in graduate school because we hit on some K through 12 information as well. And I was like, I'm not going to school for K through 12, but I still took like 2 classes related to K through 12. Shout out to the K through 12 teachers and stuff, man. They do a lot. It's a lot to become a K through 12 teacher. It's still crazy how they're not paid that much. Even though teachers are millionaires, a lot of them, still though it's a lot. But let's keep going. So the purposes are, the first one, it's like 7 purposes. Matter of fact, I'll put it in the chat, let you see it. So you'll know like, oh, this is what he's talking about. So don't you love the internet? You can just do stuff. Oh, it said too many words. So I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna do it one at a time. So when I read it, well, the one I'm about to read, I'll put it in the chat. Then so and so. So the first one is this one. So that's the first one. The first purpose is to strengthen the federal commitment to ensuring access to equal educational opportunity for every individual. So, and then I might talk about the history a little bit. I know that's the whole point, but when I read the first line, it says to strengthen the federal commitment to ensuring access to equal educational opportunity for every individual. When I read it, it was a big it was kind of hypocritical because you think about all the kids that, at least in a higher education perspective, you think about all the kids who get student loans and can't afford to go to college really. And you said the first goal for the Department of Education is to ensure access to equal educational opportunity. Now, don't forget the Department of Education is the reason why it was put together. It's mixed reviews about it, but more of it's about civil rights. It was tied into civil rights and disabilities. It was about African Americans / minorities having access to education and people with disabilities, once again. And so when I think about have people getting equal educational opportunity, it's like, well, after somebody leaves K-12, they can't afford to go to college. Why? Because most people want to go to university. Why? Most universities are expensive. Why? Well, my fact is, one of my theories is, which is not factual, one of my theories is that I think we just, at least in higher education, they care more about the sports. And so, as we see now, like, once again, some stadiums, like, I don't know if you ever seen the University Stadium of Alabama, like their football field? That's better than some NFL stadiums. Prime example. They could put money together to, like, don't get me wrong, they earn the money, I guess, like generating revenue and stuff, but they can put the money together to get a stadium, but they can't put the money together to be like, we're gonna pass out scholarships to the incoming freshmen so that they can afford to go to school, so their tuition and fees or whatever might be like $2,000. You gotta come up with $2,000, but we'll pay for the rest, even if you need to stay on campus, like stuff like that, right? It's not really accessible. And once again, that goes into my thesis. Higher education will become unaffordable for people in the future. Like, the value of higher education is going to go up, but it's going to be very expensive for you to go to college. Like, that's my thesis. I feel like because there's no cap, it's just going to keep rising. And people going to then start saying, oh, I need to go to college. I need to get a job. I'm telling you, I know people out here right now, it's hard if they don't have an education like associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's, or any education at all. They relying on certificates. Like, it's hard. It's hard. I'm speaking from experience on that. It's really hard. Like, you think about most jobs on a surface level, like a government job, they want you to have at least an associate's degree. It used to be a high school diploma, now it's an associate's degree, which is crazy, right? And so you think about the future, they're gonna be like, man, everybody got an associate's degree. Well, hopefully y'all start going to a 2-year. They're gonna be like, man, you need a bachelor's degree minimum. And then it's gonna be like, man, dang, I try to go to school, it's too expensive. What's the other one I was gonna say? I try to go to school, it's too expensive. They say they want experience. You know they be a big on the experience. Then you try to get certs. You still got to go through certain places to get certs, unless you're gonna work a full-time job, and then your job should take care of it. But then you might just have to, might have to go the military route, And I always tell people you don't want to join the military for the wrong reasons, right? You want to join for the right reasons. Like, everybody joins for a need, and we respect it. Like, some people say I join for school. Some people say I join for medical. Like me, I join for medical benefits. Some people join for the patriotic, Some people join for all the reasons, right? And you just have to keep in mind, though, like, man, they said it's supposed to be equal educational opportunity for every individual. We're not doing that now. So then it led into the second one: supplement and complement the efforts of the states. The local school, oh, I ain't put that in there for y'all. My bad. My bad. I was just talking. So right here, it's too many words. So it got too many words on the second one. So I'm gonna do this. Where's the period? They ain't put no period in here. Y'all can write so good. I'm proud of y'all writing skills. My screen is huge, guys. Gotta take me time. So that right there. And then I'm gonna put the rest of the other half. Boom. So it says, oh, that's me. I was gonna say, who said something? So to supplement and complement the efforts of the states, the local school systems, and other instrumentalities. I got my computer, so now I can figure out what this word is. Cause y'all was clowning me pretty bad. My wordplay is pretty good sometimes, but when I'm reading, instrumentality, but it was like instrumentalities. So see, I could pronounce that better because people pronounce words different, and that throws me off. I wish all words pronounced similar, but they don't. Instrumentalities of the states, the private sector, and public and private educational institutions. Public and private nonprofit educational research institutions, community-based organizations, parents, and students to improve the quality of education. So I really don't understand all of that. I don't. Some things I just don't understand. But it's supposed to do that. And then the guy it feel like it picks up on what this guy said. Martin West, the professor, he said, did he say this or somebody else said this? He said, board. Yeah. So he said right here, it's per Harvard, one of the Ivies, supposed to be strategic, one of the best. He said, the American education system is famous and uniquely decentralized, with control over the day-to-day operation of schools in the hands of roughly 14,000 locally elected and appointed school boards. And as we know, what that means, like everybody knows when they went through K through 12, you have a school board and you have like where I'm from, it's called the school, you got the school district, of course, and then you got the school board. You have elected officials on the school board because he also mentioned that the Department of Education was made, once I said that in the beginning, he said the Department of Education was politically motivated by Jimmy Carter. That's what he said. And so it was for Jimmy Carter to win the election at the time to become president. And so I found that interesting because it's always been pushback on the Department of Education being created. I didn't know that. So we see it in light right now with the Trump administration, but they always been trying to take down the Department of Education. That's what people don't know. I didn't know that. And so a lot of because they claim, he said they claim, he didn't say they claim, but he was like, it's perceived claim as if there's no, within the amendments, like our First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, please don't ask me my amendments because, I don't think they taught us that in school. But the amendments, he said the conservatives don't see anything about education in the amendments. That don't make sense to me. But they don't see education in there, so that's why they feel like there should be no Department of Education. And, conservatives, Republicans, that's money. We contribute. Where is it? Going back to the Department of Education website, because I had so much information, guys. My head is racing. He said, so as of the mid 2010, the department has nearly 4,300 employees and a budget about 60 billion. So imagine that's why Trump and them, you imagine if they threw or sliced away the Department of Education, like 60 billion or more, that number could be higher, of money can go he can put that in his budget, because every president has a budget, right? Where they want to allocate to DOD, to healthcare, such and such, right? They can allocate to agriculture more. So that's a whole lot of money that don't have to be wasted on education. It can go back into what other places. That's just common budgeting, right? And so they always wanted to take Department of Education away. And this professor mentioned that, but I was more talking about the school boards. So I felt so the school boards still have control over like K through 12 has a lot of control over the schools. Like I I know at one point, guys, early on when I was doing this, I was going through tests, right, trying to figure out how I want to go about this. It is so hard to get into a K through 12 school to talk to them. It's really hard because if a school don't know you, like a school, like a high school, mostly I was targeting high schools. If a high school doesn't know you, they will tell you you have to go to the board. And some like in different counties and like, cause I talked to different counties when I was in Valdosta, they was like, yeah, you have to go talk to the school board, and then the school board has to approve you coming into our schools. Then we decide if we want to bring you to the school. So imagine if somebody on the school board doesn't like you or know you well enough. You can't even get into the school to spread your message unless they see you like here on the live stream or see you like going other places. And then people start speculating like, why they not at your school? You know? So he was saying like the school boards already have control over like the education. Like that even though they want to put education back into the states, we see how it is ran right now with K through 12. So if you imagine putting like higher education and just education in general into the complete hands of the states, whoo, I don't know. The more history I read, the more understanding I get. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. I never thought it was a good idea. I get the idea of it. It sounds good at first, but I don't think it's the best idea. You should keep it. I really think at least higher education, it should be nonpartisan. We should have a lot more policy going on. We need some caps on those tuitions, but it's a long race, man. And let's go to our third purpose. That's why I felt like that second purpose kind of related to. So the third purpose is to encourage the increased involvement of public, parents, and students in federal education programs. To encourage the increased involvement of the public, parents, and students in federal education programs. Federal education programs. Guys, don't laugh at me. I should know this, but we didn't talk about this in graduate school though. We didn't really narrow down like when I think of a federal education program, let me go see. Like federal education program can be many things, but I'm gonna type that in. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT, you know? ChatGPT guy is gonna surf the internet and tell me right away. Federal education programs. So, boom. So, student financial aid, that's a federal education program. Because my mindset, when I hear federal education program, I'm thinking like a major or like a major in college. Like, oh, this major is funded by federal, I think like that. But a federal education program is student financial aid, which most of us use, K through 12 education programs. You got Title One. I learned about Title One in graduate school. Title One is like one of the schools I went to in high school, middle school, and I think elementary. I think I went to all Title One, which means improving academic achievement. It means your school is gonna get extra federal money to improve your reading and your math. So more tutors, more people come to the school to help, blah, blah, blah. Leave that for my K through 12 educators who are not in the chat because they don't want to give us the information. So when you think of a K through 12 person not in this live stream, you think of them. And you tell them like you should go to Speaking on Behalf live stream and put all the information you know into his chat, his live stream, so that we can have a community to get information like we need. Imagine if we had access to board. Imagine if we had a YouTube channel where you can ask questions to a board member and get your questions answered in the live stream chat. Like, you think about how easy is it to get in contact with a board member? Imagine if your local board member found this. Now, we got people from different states. Hopefully one day we'll have people from different states, right, in the live stream. But imagine if they can get, like, somebody from their state can get one of their board members, a high schooler, can actually ask their board member questions like how this and this word, da da da, and then like just bounce ideas off of each other. In a perfect world, right? In a perfect world, K through 12 education programs, higher education support programs like TRIO, Gear Up, HBCU/MSI funding. We talked about those on the screen. So those are all like federal education programs, but Department of Education has been slicing those. They're going against their word. You see what I'm saying? It's a big like, what are y'all doing? So it's interesting to see in current day, but that's what's going on, right? So number 4 is to promote. I'm gonna put that in here. We almost there, guys. I just had to go through this because it's part of history, man. It's part of Department of Education history, and you seeing a lot of contradictions in current time. Because I was like, whoa, it's a lot of contradictions. So right here, to promote improvements in the quality and usefulness of education through federally supported research, evaluation, and sharing of information. We are supposed to be doing that. But right now, Department of Education, once again, is cracking down and slicing research funding. So that's another contradiction. And so, once again, we nonpartisan, but if that's part of what are the reason why it was created, one of the purposes, they're literally unless they're doing this intentionally, I'm assuming they went down the line and looked at like, what's our purpose of the Department of Education? Boom, 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 slice it all. So then once we slice all of that, then it's like, why are you here? I guess that's what they're trying to get to. But 5, improve the coordination of federal education programs. Yeah, once again, like you cannot improve the coordination of federal education programs if you're slicing the federal education programs. So intentional, very intentional. So to improve management and efficiency of federal education activities, once again, it's getting cut. So all of that is going to be done for. Let's go. So right there. And then I'm going to post the rest of it because you only get so many. I didn't know you only could put so many words in a live stream. I didn't know that. I really didn't know that. I see so many people be typing paragraphs sometimes. Well, maybe they comment afterwards. And so this one is another one. If you cut into federal programs or federal education and stuff, you can't really improve the management. And then the last one, number 7, is to increase the accountability of federal education programs to the president, the Congress, and the public. So, well, they want to get rid of it. Congress, president, all of them want to get rid of it. So that's another contradiction. But as we said, that's what's happening. So then we get to the department's history. So once again, this goes back. They said this goes all the way back to 1867 when President Andrew Johnson. Hey, Andrew Johnson, I'll be talking about Andrew Johnson. And Andrew Johnson, him and his boys. Let me see if I can find that picture. It was in graduate school. Andrew Johnson with others. Let me see. Andrew Johnson. It was the Library of Congress. It says Library of Congress hosts Andrew Johnson papers. It was something with Andrew Johnson, y'all. But Andrew Johnson and his homeboys. it made me realize like how powerful education is. Advocacy for reading. There's no real general statement. It's something you have to dig on. But Andrew Johnson and his homeboys, pretty much. I don't want to say their names because I know they all I could be way off. And so just know his homeboys, they all was like really, in those times, man, all they did was read. All they did was read in their little, I guess, library. I don't know if it's their library. They'll read and become very, I would say, very intelligent. That's what it's told to me. That's what is told to me in history, even at Georgia State. So for people who think, if you might think I learned that at Valdosta State or PWI, I learned it at a PBI at Georgia State. And they talked about how like Andrew Johnson and his homeboys, I had to go find it. I don't think she put that in the book. I think it was like in a CRM. And they would just sit down and read and come up with stuff to laws and all that nature, how everything should be and blah blah blah. But it was more the reading. Like everyone who reads, they are very, whether you like them or not, they're very intelligent. And education, we talk about dark leaders and bright leaders. And so even those, like when you think of those dark leaders, they were very like intelligent, very good readers, and right. So it shows you the power of like having education, and we see it today, right? Like prime example. So let's keep going. Department of Education history. Well, the department's history. It's really nothing else to talk about. We really talked about that too. I merged that together a little bit. So let's go to our last one. Where we at? Yeah, let's go to our last one. Students pay for athletics. I told y'all before. I'm doing my country slang a little bit. I told you all before that you pay for jerseys for students, not students. The students pays for jerseys for athletics. Not just one sport, all. So I was reading this article. Not reading. Let me just stop saying read it because y'all gonna think I was really in here just flipping through pages on the computer reading. I was reading the Post. Would you consider this article? It's by Neil Gluckman. I would say it's article, more like a journal, but not long. It's not a long journal. And she wrote this. It's on the Chronicle of Higher Education. And so it's about, once obvious, loans, fees, and TV money, where colleges are finding the funds to pay athletes. So we talked about it before, like there was a $2.8 billion settlement that will reshape college sports, blah, blah, blah. And schools apparently, right here, it says $20.5 million cap on payments to athletes. But it said it will go up each year for the 10 years that the settlement is in effect. So it's going to be in effect for 10 years. This removes the scholarship cap. So for all of you who can't get an academic scholarship, really, they just removed the scholarship cap for athletes. So how does that work? I read a little bit on another article before in a different screen that if a player is pretty much getting paid, that's gonna allow a player who's not getting paid to get a scholarship and get a bigger scholarship, even if they're not that good of a player per se. Because I was an athlete, so if you're not getting no NIL money, you're just not really known, really. And so that gives you an opportunity to get a fatter scholarship so they can bring in other players who are like, like, hey, I can't come to your school because, hold up, now they got me thinking, were they giving kids money? Were they giving the kids NIL deals and scholarship money? Because if so, that was crazy because I ain't gonna lie, you get NIL money, you about to pay for school. I'm sorry, you not finna just, like, that's crazy. So they removed the scholarship cap in that regards. Once again, I'm happy for the players getting NIL money. It puts a lot of pressure on colleges, though. So it says smaller campuses will certainly feel the financial pressure. It's the larger athletic programs that are producing eye-popping numbers. The University of Kentucky will lend its athletic department up to $141 million over the next few years. And then it said the University of Missouri, for all you Missouri people out there, it announced in January in anticipation of the settlement that it would give $25 million to its athletics department in addition to a $15 million loan. You see how they getting all this money up? Like, where are they getting this money from? But they can't give you money to discount your education so you can go to school. Pay attention. I'm just saying. So it says right here, Michigan State University 2025-2026 operating budget includes a line for an internal loan of $12.1 million in athletics revenue. Athletics revenue at Michigan State, I guess, is not looking good because they need a loan. So if they need a loan at Michigan State, what does that mean? Let's go down to school, the University of, not that one. Let's go to the School of West Virginia University. So that's the blue and gold school, if I'm not mistaken. So for all my people out there at West Virginia University will add a student fee of $125 per semester for athletics. What does that mean? That means your tuition and fees, well, your fees are going to go up, like I said, by $125 per semester. So you're going to pay an additional, because you got to do it for the next semester too. So that's an additional 125 times 2. That's 250. So imagine if you got, once again, 20,000 students, which very much they have 20,000 students. 20,000 times 250. That's an extra that's an extra 5 million right there from students alone. So once again, you're helping the athletic department, because math is math. If they say, oh, no, it work like that. And so that's going to be extra money you're going to have to pay. And it's not just West Virginia University. It's all schools that's going to do that to you. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we just live in a town where they care more about the sports, even though the sports might not be generating like it should, but they're going to invest your college, depending on which college you go to, is going to take more pride and effort to boost the sports instead of putting the extra money into research building. So you don't have to rely on the federal government when Trump comes. Or bringing in more instructors. Like, imagine if they took that extra money and said, man, this extra $125 per semester in student fee is going to contribute to bringing in more instructors so we can have a better teacher ratio of students. But they're not doing that. So this is me reading the information. I'm just putting it in perspective because this is what we talked about in graduate school. And when I taught like this, I wasn't way off. My professor was like, yeah, oh, yeah. It's like, oh, okay. So I wasn't far off. This is how it's going. This is how it's going. This is how it's being presented. So the Kentucky loan to its athletic department stands out for its size. Jay Blanton, the University Associate Vice President. Hey, let's see how much he make. Jay Blanton, the university's Associate Vice President and Chief Communication Officer, said the athletics would pay the university back. Said the athletics would pay the university back with 4.5% interest. So what if they don't? What if they don't? See, this is what they don't want to hear, but this is what they're going to have to play back in the future. Because what if they don't? So if the athletics don't pay it back, if they don't hit the quota or the projection, if they don't, who gonna suffer? The students. It's just like when the '08 crisis happened. This is all the same, guys. It's nothing different. It's all the same. Except in this regard, it's students and parents. So when the '08 crisis happened, watch The Big Short. Like, The Big Short puts it in a great way. I didn't make the movie. The movie is out. If you watch The Big Short, it's about some guys who all went against the market. I might watch it after this. It's some guys who all went against the stock market. They knew it was a housing bubble, right? And long story short, one of the guys was like, he knew it was going to happen once they got the information together and the data. And he was like, I just hate that when this happens, the American people are going to suffer. Same thing now. When the incoming students in the future, when they go to the University of Kentucky, because they're going to have students, like I said before, higher education is not going nowhere. Let's be clear. If anything, it's going to have to get bailed out by the government. Straight up. So, but at the end of the day, when they get the bailout money, they still have to, now you owe the government. And so now we have to raise money to pay back the government, And so we got to raise the money. We got to raise the tuition per credit hour. And so that's going to hurt parents and students in the future. So if your income is not going up, just basic economics, right? If your income is not going up, you're going to have to pay a lot more money to go to Kentucky and other schools. Now, it doesn't hurt the 2 years because 2 years don't rely on athletics heavily to like drive in revenue and stuff. 2 years not built like that. And that's why I say you should start at a 2 year and bridge to a 4 year, because 4 years are going to keep rising. This is a fact. I know they're going to keep rising. And so that's the game. And I won't be in college no more. So that's going to be the suffer of that. And so let's look up Jay Blayton. How much does Jay Blayton make? He's a University Associate Vice President and Chief Communications Officer. So anything with "and" in it and then higher education, they getting paid. So I'm going to look up Jay Blayton, University of Kentucky. Look, he popped up. Pay. Hold up, come back. Serious. This is real business right here. This is serious. Jay Blayton is the Associate Vice President Chief Communication. He probably get paid pretty good. He got to get paid pretty good. Payroll. And remember, if you always want to see the payroll of all of these professionals working in higher education, you can always just go to open payroll. So let me see, open pay. If I can't find it in the next few minutes, I'm gonna leave because I had some people in here when I was cooking. So look, open payrolls. You go to openpayrolls.com, and I'm gonna drop that link in the description going forward. I'm gonna do that. So you go to the University of Kentucky, not University of Kentucky, you just go to openpayrolls.com, type in the school, and show you all that. So his name though, where is it? It's crazy. What's his name? I'm gonna go back to the article. Where you at, Jay? Don't run from me, Jay. I thought somebody text. I'm gonna type his name in up here because they trying to make me find it. Nah, they said he has 0. What a coincidence. But we'll come at. I'll try to find Jay one day. But yeah, let's keep going. Wait, is this it? The average employee salary? No, we don't care about that. That's dope though. We're trying to find. All right, yeah, they're gonna make it hard to find that, so we're not gonna trip over it. As we keep making our way down, it says Kentucky Athletic Department was spun off. They've been on Kentucky head in this article. Was spun off into a separate nonprofit holding company. The university announced, okay. Is there anything else in here before we go to our last thing? You know, we like to close out breaking down the college. So I would say that's it, really, guys, for that. So we're gonna break down the college. That's what we always do to close out. But yeah, if you are a student at a big school or university, of course, you are contributing to, well, you are paying for the jerseys, you are paying for like I said, you're paying for the jerseys, you're paying for the basketball court, you're paying for the football goals and the football field and all that stuff. You and your counterparts. So let's keep going. And like I said, tuition gonna keep rising. What's that school called? Tennessee State University. I already said on their tuition and fees webpage that they're raising the tuition and fees by 2 to 5%. So it's gonna keep rising. They don't really plan on like decreasing that. So what schools should we review? We talked about a lot of schools. What school should we do, Al? We talk a California school. It's a lot of California schools. What about USC? I just talked about them, but I don't think I did a review on them yet. They expensive though. I heard they expensive. I heard they like 98 grand expensive. 98 grand a year, I think. Not even exaggerated. I believe they University of South Carolina. They're private. They're private. They're a private institution. So I can't talk about them. They're private. I don't talk about private schools because if you go in there, you know they're private. Hey, shout out to them. They've been running. They private. They doing their thing. I like private schools because they're independent. It reminds me what I'm trying to be, independent. And so I don't touch private schools. They doing their thing. So let's type in some California University schools. She said California, y'all, so I'm gonna pick a yellow. Stanford is private. I like Stanford. I feel like I would have went to Stanford in my next life. I like Stanford. They produced a lot of tech gurus. That the reason why we have YouTube, the reason why we have Google, and many more, they produced those people, if I'm not mistaken. If not, they got free advertisement. What about UC Berkeley? They are public. All right, we could do UC Berkeley. But UC Berkeley is a very good school from what I heard. But let's look at the pricing and stuff. I heard UC Berkeley is real good. I heard. I could be wrong though, because a lot of schools I heard that's good and they're not good for my pockets, right? For my pockets. They're good for my pockets, Henry. I'm hurting, man. I get it, man. I'm here for you. So, once again, when I look at the cost of a school, I go to their tuition and fees. Because I'm not going to be confused about nothing. Whatever, if you are a financial aid student or whatever like that, you can expect the school to just pretty much give you a discount saying this is how much you qualify for, but you're going to be responsible for this. Just expect it like that. But you got to lay the budget out yourself. Where is tuition and fees? Not y'all hiding the tuition and fees. Come on, UC Berkeley. I'm out here helping y'all. So, what are my direct costs to UC Berkeley? Nope, that ain't what we looking for. I don't trust nobody to calculate I don't trust nobody to calculate my tuition but me. So I need to see that tuition per credit hour. If I can't find your tuition per credit hour, then I definitely don't trust your school. That's just real. And yeah, they got these the fees. Tuition and fees, set amount charged by the university. New out-of-state students pay an additional non-resident supplemental tuition of $37,000. Well, I won't be attending if I'm out of state. Where is it, guys? Well, their tuition and fees is hiding. So my next option is to type it in on their website. Tuition and fees. Dang. Al, you picked a hard one. They making this hard to find their tuition and fees. Uh, I think it's this. They keep trying to say the student budget. Y'all really trying to budget for these students, and these budgets be off by a lot. So I'm gonna find it. Even if I gotta. No, I do not consider the types of foods. Do you consider the types of foods you want to try when deciding a school? No, I do not consider foods. Alice Marie, I do not consider the types of foods I want to try when deciding a school. I do not. Why? Because I'm not going to school to try food. I'm going to school to create a new life for myself, right? So, sorry, but I don't think about the food. I don't think about the food. But right here, they showing the direct graduate cost charged by, is this graduate school? That is their graduate academic programs. What about undergraduate programs? Huh. This is wild. Somebody should call this school and tell them, where's your tuition and fees? That's normally what I would do, guys. If I can't find their tuition and fees, I call the school. And if they having problems finding it, okay. Okay, I see. Um, let's try this. Because we got their scorecard up, but like we said, the scorecard can be misleading. Nah, this ain't it either. Wow, UC Berkeley, y'all. This is a drop of grade if I gotta keep doing all this. So okay. Um, all right, one more chance, Henry. I got one more chance at this. Cause I wasted y'all good time while y'all been looking at me look this up. I feel so bad. All right, they gonna hear about me through the grapevines for sure, for sure. So, University of California, Berkeley, they have a graduation rate of 94%, allegedly pertaining to the U.S. Department of Education College Scorecard. What about the climate in an area where you want to go to school, like the weather? That would play a factor. I never considered it, but that would play a factor. I wouldn't want to go nowhere cold. It's snowy because I had to walk. I would have to walk to class that's snowy. Um, I don't want to walk to class that's snowy every day. Hot, I could deal with hot from Georgia, but just imagine if it's like snowy or like constant tornadoes, which is possible, then you have to evacuate and go home. And if you went to a school that's kind of far, let's just say the school did give you a scholarship. They're not gonna pay for your flight back when you gotta take constant flights back to school. Like imagine if I went to school in Washington, D.C. And well, that's a bad example. Imagine if I went to school in Wyoming. And Wyoming has a lot of tornadoes. Knock on wood. And if they have a lot of tornadoes, I have to constantly evacuate and go back home. for safety. But who's gonna pay for those flights constantly back and forth? Me. So you want to look at schools that's like, I would look at a school that's like chill. They don't have no natural disasters happen all the time. The weather is good to your liking, and they have good connections in that area. Keep that in mind. They have good connections. So UC Berkeley, oh, similarly, they are I think we did no, we did. I don't know. We'll find out. But UC Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, has a graduation rate of 94%. They are also a special destination for Asian American and Native American Pacific Islander serving institution. So Hawaii, LOL. I don't know about Hawaii. Hawaii. I know military. You have people out there in Hawaii. They say it's pretty good, but you go to school in Hawaii. They do have a school out there in Hawaii, but that's a long trip back and forth to pay for. Um, they have a graduation rate of 94%. The average annual cost they saying is 15,000 a year. I don't think that's accurate because looking simply at their where is it? Looking simply at their, I couldn't find the prices for personal, but they saying like living in a campus resident hall, you looking at 2,000 already. Then they said your book's about 1,000. Like book's about 1,500. Miscellaneous and personal. I never count miscellaneous and personal because they don't really know my miscellaneous and personal life. They saying an extra $2,000. They saying an extra $2,700. I'm gonna say that extra $2,700 going to the stock market. So obviously their budget is not the same as mine, for example. So we don't know how much their tuition is, how much you're looking at for like going to school there. That's why I don't like. So yeah. Yeah. Let's see this. They said student surveys. Really? Is this it? It's not it. This starts at 2023. So they don't really want to tell you the price. I'm pretty sure it's very expensive. They don't want to disclose the price on the internet. That means it's expensive. That means it's very expensive. But UC Berkeley is known to be a good school, but it's very expensive. So you're looking at 15 grand for the year. If you divide 15 grand by 2, 15 grand by 2, it's 7,500 a semester. I don't think that's true until they show me the prices. But they do say, hey, students who receive financial aid after 10 years being removed from the school, your pay is starting out at like 92 grand. Oh, so I guess that is worth it. If you go to the school, your return on investment gonna be crazy good. 92 grand ain't bad. 92 grand ain't bad. Okay, UC Berkeley, that's almost 6 figures. They have a 96% return rate after the first year. Once again, their graduation rate is 94%. What kind of laptop do you recommend for school? Alice Marie. The laptop that I recommend for school, I really don't have a recommendation. Some people like Macs, some people like Dells, some people like HPs. I say get a computer that's user friendly. That's my advice. Because you get a computer that's complicated and you can't work like you need to. Your professor ain't hearing that. So I say get something user friendly and it can submit grades. That's my advice. But I don't have a recommendation. Hopefully we get some advertisement of the computers. We get to use them. Then they be like, advertise this on your channel. I'm not, I might have some recommendations then, but I don't really have no recommendations right now. Financial aid and debt. They saying you're gonna come out with 13 grand in debt after graduation. I don't know how true that is because I don't know the real tuition per credit hour. And they say 17% of their students receive federal loans. That's very low. So it sounds like the school is very low cost, affordable, but we don't know because we can't see their tuition and we can't see their tuition and fees. They not telling us the truth. We talked about the earnings. They said they make more than a high school graduate 84% of the time. Dope. And then of course you got the test scores, but like I say, oh, they have a 12% acceptance rate. Whew. So if you apply straight out of high school, you gotta have a good SAT and ACT score. But check this out: the University of California, Berkeley does not require an admission test scores. They don't require the SAT or the ACT. Ooh. During the application process, and does not recommend that students provide them. And does not recommend. So they don't even recommend you. So how are they determining what student is capable of going to their institution? So I mean, are you in clubs? Are you like in the SGA at your high school? If you got one, are you in the biology club? Are you in like these clubs that are exemplifying that you place first in competitions and like I can bring this to your school? Interesting, right? Like we see that a lot though. A lot of schools are like SAT, ACT is not worth it. It's not really determining who's a better student because some students are naturally good at test taking. So like school's been saying like, well, we also need students and students like if I gotta take an SAT, ACT, I'm gonna take the other route, go get a job, and then I'll apply later. Because eventually you don't need an SAT, ACT once you've been removed from high school. You have to take a placement test. But like I said, you start at 2-year, bridge to a 4-year, you can get there easy at their school. But UC Berkeley, you get a UC Berkeley gets a C plus. Only because you know how that teacher that gives you a 70 because they didn't see one thing in your paper, but they'll give you like a 90 to 100 once they be like, oh, okay, that's them. They get a 70 because I can't find their tuition and fees or their tuition per credit hour. So that's UC Berkeley. I heard they were pretty good. I would love to do a tour there, see some things. I would love to hear about probably can look up their alumni real quick. Who's their who's their Noble alumni? It's probably let's see who did go there. Who are y'all Noble alumni? Steve Wozniak. I hope I say his name wrong. I hope I say his name right. Wozniak. But he's the guy that co-founded Apple. So this Apple phone I'm on, he co-founded that with Steve Jobs. He's actually perceived to be the one who did all the lead work too. But Steve Wozniak, if I said that right, he actually started a 2-year and then went to UC Berkeley. Fun fact. I don't know these other people, but I know him. So shout out to that. So that's it. We made it to another live stream. I will see you all tomorrow. Enjoy your holiday if you are off. And we will keep going. There for degree.